Assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah, in this video I will be showing you how I memorize surahs. You'll see that my method is kind of a mixture of different methods that are used quite often by people trying to memorize the Quran. Inshallah, I'll show you how my method differs a little bit and hopefully it might be helpful for you as well. The first thing that I always do when memorizing a new surah is opening up Quran.com. MashaAllah, this is a great resource. They have different reciters, they have different recitation speeds. You're even able to repeat verses over and over again, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in this video. I'm going to let a clip of this play so you can see how the recitation works. You can see how the website moves along.
الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون.
Once the preparation is completed, I'll then go ahead and begin memorizing the surah. So I do actually like to break up surahs into smaller chunks. I like using 3 ayahs at a time or 3 verses. So I'll go ahead and read the Quran along with the reciter. And I'll do that enough times that I start to feel comfortable with the surah and how it should be recited.
الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون.
Once I've listened to the recitation enough times, I'll then go ahead and read the ayahs on my own, remembering how it was recited by the reciter. So I'll do that enough times that I feel really confident that I can recall each ayah. I'll memorize the first one, and then the second one, and the third one. And once I feel really solidified with that, only then will I go ahead and move on to the second portion of 3 ayahs. A key tip here and why I love Quran.com so much for memorization is that you can actually enable this repeat verse function, and you can either have a single verse, a range of verses, or the full surah play on a loop over and over again. So for example, if I'm memorizing the first 3 ayahs, I can just select that those 3 ayahs play on a loop, and I can really help myself get familiar with those 3 ayahs before I decide to move on to the next set of 3. If you're familiar with the 3x3 method of memorization, you'll notice that this is pretty similar. The only difference I would say is that often when you're looking at different guidebooks and different frameworks for how to memorize the Quran, it'll tell you specifically how many times to read each set of verses. For example, it might say to read the first chunk of 3 5 times, then to read it 5 times listening to a reciter, then to read it 5 times on your own or 7 times on your own, etc. I would just say that the biggest thing here is to figure out what works best for you and not focus too much on how many times you need to recite each chunk. You might realize you have to actually recite it 10 times, and that's totally okay. At the end of the day, inshallah, your intention and your goal should be to memorize for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you need to recite it 10 times or 20 times, at the end of the day, as long as you can memorize it, that's the most important thing.